Hello again, Sheena Douglas here with this really cute little Christmas fairy. She's part of my Perfect Partners new Christmas range, and as you can see she's completely 3D and she's stamped, not just die cut, stamped front and back. So she's a complete little Christmas charm, a Christmas decoration. She can sit onto your Christmas place settings. She can hold little Christmas messages via this little scroll here, which comes with the elf dies, so you can write a little message on there. But what I also thought should be a great little bookmark. And also the initial idea was to have, say, a card like this, and then she can just pop and she's just peeping over the top of the card like that. You see at the top of the card. If you want her in amongst the card, again, pop her in there. She's going to look perfect. Maybe have a few more little things coming across so she looks a little bit more 3D in amongst it all. And she's peeping on her face, bless, sorry. Bit rude. And you can see how you can just build up the card with all of the other elements in the range if you want to. But what I'm going to concentrate, what we're going to look at now is we'll leave the backgrounds for another time, and the fairy lights, for example, which I love the fairy lights, and we'll look at how we put the little fairy together in 3D fashion. Because these are Perfect Partners, you'll see that you've got your die set which you can purchase separately, and within that you can get the fairy, the front of the fairy and the wings, and in the stamp set you're going to get the front and the back of the fairy and the stamp detail for our wings. Now this was to save you money. Rather than have a die for the back as well, I'm going to show you how the stamp will serve to work for both sides of the fairy, and that's what we'll get cracking with. So the first thing you need to do is to cut out 3 fairies but emboss just 2, because they're going to work for the front side. The other one that you don't emboss is going to be the back of the fairy, and you also need to cut and emboss a pair of wings for her. Just one. One's fine, you don't need 2 of those. And then you are going to now I didn't show you the cutting and embossing because we've done a lot of showing you how to do that, and use whichever machine you have. The dies work in all your machines. So what I've done here is I've pre-stamped this one, but I'm going to show you how we're going to stamp them now. The first thing to do is take your stamp, and I just like to stamp it like this. Don't try to do target practice where you stamp it then line up the die. It takes absolutely ages, and when you're looking at things that have got all this detail, and because I don't have any halo around my images, you know, a border, there's no room for error that way. So the easiest way, because I wanted it to be as precise as possible. I didn't want to compromise on that. So this is actually the much quicker and easier way to do it. Now I like to use not a black, so obviously I don't think red would work, or green, each their own, but something like a stone grey for a softer line, a detailed line. StazOn, archival, something like that. Even a coffee colour, anything, just softer than black. So the first thing, I'm going to ink up my image. Just go ahead and make sure the whole image is inked up. And I'm using a water resistant ink like StazOn or archival, because I'm going to be colouring out with the water based product. So the first thing to do is turn her over and line up her, get it roughly lined up, and then line up her face and hair to start with, and then just press down, and then you've got that captured. Now I'm going to work on her arms, one arm at a time. Pop them down, make sure you've got her hands and a little sleeve on her dress, and then her other arm and hand, because like I say, I wanted this to be edge to edge precision, line to shape, and to do that, you know, not have a halo around it. I'm so happy with that, because it didn't look natural to me to have a border around it. And but this way you're going to make sure that you've got everything lined up really nicely, and then when you turn her over, see, that's pretty good. You've got all that detail. Her face is perfectly stamped. Her little arms, her legs, everything's spot on. I'll show you how to do the back now. So the back, you'll take and do exactly the same, only you won't you'll be using the other side of the die cut. See what I mean? So ink up again. Then take it this time, but don't don't turn it over, leave it that way up so you're actually looking at the front side of the die, and then stamp. Again, starting with the head, and then just pressing with your fingers, and then get our arm lined up and press down there. Now if you use like a definitely an archival, if you've missed a bit when you lift the image up and you've missed a line, because you're obviously not, you're being a stamping rebel here, rather than using a block, you're just pressing it on here, which again I think is far easier. You might not press down somewhere that you needed to and you've missed a little bit, but if you look at it, look at your image, and if there's something missing, it'll still be showing on the stamp. So you just need to go back and grab it again. Does that make sense? Put it back, give it a rub, and you've picked it up again. Now this looks fine, but it looks a bit strange because you can see the back of our dress, but we've got a way to fix that, and I'll tell you what that is. It's via the stamp, which we'll come to in a sec. But so there's your two. So we've got the two front, we've got the one back, and then there's also your wings. Now I like to stamp the wings with something like a aqua tint, rather than maybe a just the line, or your distress inks, anything that you can give it a little bit more kind of a softer look. So I'm just going to scribble the aqua tint, the aqua marker, sorry, onto the wings, and then go ahead and place them on top like this. Press down, lift up, and you've got this detail here. Now if you leave it to set a little bit, you're going to get more of those lines in there, but if you want it softer, just use a little bit of water and just blend them out like this, and you've got a bit of detail, but you've also got a nice pale, softer kind of effect in an image, and I just think that looks really nice for the wings. You can add a little bit of shade in there with another colour if you want, but that would, I'd be happy to leave that to dry, and then obviously do the reverse side just the same, because these are actually mirrored images. They're exactly the same each side. So now we'll move on to showing you how to pop it together. So now to make her look more 3D, these are the two that I've stamped out. So I'm going to use this one as the base and this one as the 3D elements. So this is going to look a little bit scary and a bit gruesome, but what you need to do, if you look at the die, there's all of these little cut lines here. So what that means is you can either just pull them apart carefully like that, or you can use your scissors to cut into them to take the little hair away from the main body, because then that will work really nicely as a little 3D element to give her, to make it look like she's got a little bit of a hair's coming forward. So we're going to do that with that, and we're also going to do the same with our dress. So we'll take, you see there's little snip lines there for our legs, you just pull away, or snip them if you want it to be a bit neater. The same with the arms. Looks a bit calloused, doesn't it? A bit disturbing, but hey ho, it'll all be fine in the end. And then even a neck, head, and then you've got the dress perfect there to decoupage on top of the main body of the image. And then we're going to, actually I'm going to show you now how we're going to do the similar thing for the back. So there's the front, that's going to go on top of there, this is going to go on top of there, and we can give it a little bit of movement, it'll look really cute. But on the back, if we look, when we stamp the back, you've got that little line that you can see. Now this is what I was talking about, what we can do with the covering this up with the stamp. So what you need to do is take your stamp and stamp the back of your fairy on a piece of scrap card, cut out the dress, and then colour it, and then when you pop it on there, that's going to cover that little line that was on her back there. And also it's just going to make it look much better because you can bring the little sleeves out, have a little bit more movement and things. You can even do the same with her hair if you want to, so you can pop that on there as well. But we'll come to that bit in a minute. We'll start to look at colouring. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to colour a face and a arms in, because they're the skin tones. I'm going to use the aqua marker, and I'm going to use the topaz colour, which is kind of a kind of a flesh tone, straight out of the pen. So I'm going to go ahead and use it straight onto my, I've done these in watercolour card, by the way, because I think watercolour card works really nicely with these markers. So I've created a darker line on the underneath of our arm, and where there would be a shadow there, maybe your hands like this, and then I've used the pen just to wash the colour out a little bit, so that it's not quite as intense a colour, it's a bit paler. And I'll do the same with our face. So around the side of our dress, do a little bit darker, maybe around the side of our face and even into our hairline. And then I'll just use the water on a brush just to soften that a little bit. And now what I want to do is I want to give her a little bit of a nice healthy glow. So I'm actually going to use the Sunset rather than a red, just a little bit of a touch of an orangey colour, and give her a little bit of colour on her cheeks. That looks a little strong, but don't panic, just get some water on your brush and just blend it out. And you can even do a little bit of a wash on her arms as well, because it can look a little bit yellowy if you just leave it like that. And before you've got any colour elsewhere, it's going to look really strong, the colour on the hair, the skin. But when you get the strong colour on the dress, it's going to look fine, so don't worry about that. So we've got our little face and arms coloured. Let's colour our legs in, which I'm going to use the Scarlet, but I'm wondering if I want really strong red tights. Maybe not. If you're not sure, just scribble some colour on your mat first, and then you can always just wash it on. You can always add stronger colour later, but you can't take it off. So if you use a water dilute version of the colour in the pens first, when it's dry, if it's not as dark, if you think, I think I would have preferred that darker, you can always just go over straight onto the card with the pens. But I think that's going to work fine there. Now our hair, I'm not going to colour because the hair is going to be stuck on, and so is the dress colour. But just a little tip, because I know I'm going to colour the dress green, and when I stick them together, I don't want, if I want to have the sleeves picked up a little bit so you can see underneath and have a little bit of movement, I don't want any white showing on the card underneath. So I'm just going to go around the outside really roughly and catch the edge also of the image, so that there's no white card showing around there. And then that means, even on a little neckline, I think I'll go a little bit there, so that when you put the top layer on, it doesn't look as artificial if you see any white showing. We'll just pop a little bit of colour, just a little bit of touch of colour on her hair, even though that we're going to colour that in better with the other one. Right, so now she's looking a lot better already, but what we'll do is we'll pop her to one side and we'll colour the dress as we want it, the top layer. So I'm going to use green, and I'm going to do a little bit darker in here. If you look on my stamped images, you'll always see where there's little bits of shading. Can you see at the bottom of our dress? And there's little where it's going in there, and it's a bit darker here. Maybe under the belt you've got those little things there. So it gives you an idea of where to pop your straight colour, and where you're going to have it darker and where you're going to have it lighter. Now can you see this isn't as blending as well as I wanted it to? That's because I'm using the Sheena stamping card. If that happens, you can always fix it by just painting some colour on like that. If you use the watercolour card, I thought I'd use the watercolour card for this, but it's obviously not. What you would need to do is just apply your wash over it, rather than try to move that ink, which it's not going to move, but that's okay, because we can blend it in by just putting a lighter wash over the whole thing, and it'll blend in fine. So we've got our dress coloured there, and then the little belt around the side, we're going to use a little bit of that Scarlet again. And this time I'm just putting it on straight away with the brush because I know that this isn't the card I thought it was. So we've got that colour there, and a hair, bring that here. I'm going to do a base, just overall colour with this light sandy kind of brown colour. Now this could be done with your distressings, it could be your aqua tints, could be your pencils, it could be your alcohol pens, anything you like to use is going to work brilliantly. It's all going to be good. So anything that you've got in your you know, your crafty stash, and anything you prefer to colour with is what you would want to use for that. The ribbon, if you look, it's got a little bow on her hair there. Then we'll pop some little red bits in here and there, could be berries or whatever. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have, just like that there, that will stick onto there like that. What I'm going to do is just colour a little bit more of her hair around there. Again, rather than white card, you don't want to see any white card. I'll pop that on with the glue. This will be the front side done. So the glue I'm using is the tacky glue from Crafter's Companion. It's a really good fast grab, strong PVA adhesive, and I find it's perfect for this because, like I say, it sticks really quickly. You haven't got to sit and hold it for ages. You can even see there where our hair's coming over our face a little bit. You can move it. You can put little domes in it if you have different anchor points, if you know what I mean. So you can dome the hair by grabbing the sides here. The same with the dress. I want the dress just to kick up a little bit there. I want her sleeves to come up a little bit so it looks like it's got some movement. So we'll pop the glue here. The other thing that the glue is going to do is it's going to bond, you know, where the cut lines are, to make it easier to snip apart for you, to show you where to layer. It's going to bond them to this base layer as well. So wet glue is definitely what I would use. So there you've got that's the front of our complete there. What you can also do is draw little ballet slippers on there if you want. If you use a white pen, which I did have and I can't see right away. Oh, there it is. You can draw some little slippers just like that, any colour that you want, and you can even do little laces. So anything you want. This is the same as the else. I left that so that you could decorate it any way you wanted. So that's the front, and I'll show you how we do the back. So this is the little dress that you've cut out from your stamped image. This is the hair. We're going to stick that on. Like this. Now if you see, now I haven't put the green around the outside there, so if you can see a little bit of a green there, quickly just take your pen and I would definitely just colour that little bit, because you don't want to see any white showing when you stick it down. But it does look really cute when our dress comes out a little bit. And then the same with our hair, we'll dome that a little bit. Pop that on. And there you've got the back as well as the front. And then you stick them together, and then what you're going to do is pop the wings on. Now what I've done here with the wings, I've used a little bit of spray and shine, and just to give it a little more of a fairy look kind of thing, and pop that on there. You're going to glue that on there, but I would do that after you've stuck them both together. And then this is what you're going to end up with, your pretty little bit of glitter on her hair if you want. Christmas fairy.